What's up, guys? Welcome in to yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. The Arizona Cardinals are now off to a very slow start as another defensive addition or lack thereof in Joey Bosa and just a minute ago, Larry Ogunjobi flying off the boards. The Cardinals are sitting quietly with their hands in their pockets. Let's talk about it.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like callus. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show. Go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show. Go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. I mean, there is a lot to talk about today. My guys, Aaron and Sandman in the chat. A lot of Cardinals things to get to today. A little bit of ASU later on in the show. And this is what happens when you just assume that you're going to talk about the Suns today, that you forget to change the background. But let's talk about some of this Arizona Cardinals stuff that I defended yesterday, and now I feel a little embarrassed doing so. I appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. And yeah, that's it for the intro. Let's start here, though, because there's a lot of things to get into this morning and not a lot of time to get into all of it. Let's start with the things that I do like. I don't like to be, if I can choose whether to be negative or positive on this show, I will almost always choose positive, but I'm not just going to choose that just to choose that. And lately, with a lot of the teams in Arizona, it's been a lot of negative. So I'll switch it up a little bit here. And then I'm going to get into the things I despise. And there's a lot more things I hate than the things I like. I mentioned yesterday that I like the addition of Josh Sweat. Thought it was a little bit of an overpay, but it's free agency. Everyone is getting overpaid, so it happens. I'm not frustrated by that at all. In fact, I'm happy the Cardinals opened up the checkbook for at least one dude. So I said I liked that. What I really liked yesterday, maybe not so much the timeliness of it, because it shows where their priorities are, is the Jacoby Brissett acquisition at quarterback. What Kyler Murray has never had, at least over the last couple of seasons, is a stable backup quarterback that he could be able to talk things through with. When he throws an interception on the sidelines, he's not just going to Drew Petzing and figuring out what's wrong. It's nice to have someone in the same position as you who has seen it all, who has worked with Tom Brady before and other great quarterbacks in the NFL. Also a quarterback who's had some success in this offense before when he was with the Cleveland Browns along with Drew Petzing. So the familiarity is there. I like the Jacoby Brissett signing for the Cardinals. It's not splashy. It's not crazy. But what Kyler Murray needs desperately is a veteran, after he throws an interception, for that veteran to check him and say, what did you see out there? What were you looking at? Where did it go wrong? The Cardinals have been missing that. Kyler really had that with Colt McCoy. Carson Palmer had that with Drew Stanton. It is an invaluable position to have. And Kyler, who is still relatively young in the league, needs that guy. So Jacoby Brissett, who has seen everything, who is not a threat to him to take over his starting position, but just there to help better Kyler Murray for the next 2 seasons at minimum, is a great place to be. I love that addition. It was smart, it was savvy, and he's one of the better backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Where when Clayton Tune was coming in last year, you knew you were screwed. Where when Jacoby Brissett comes in, he's not going to win you games, but he's probably not going to lose you games either. So that I really liked. Give Kyler Murray a savvy veteran who has seen everything before to allow him to break these kind of things down on the sidelines when things go wrong. especially for a quarterback that has the familiarity in this offense. So a great move for the Cardinals going and getting Jacoby Brissett. Now let's talk about all the things I absolutely hate. And believe me, there's a lot of them. So I wanted to get the Jacoby Brissett thing out soon. What the hell were the Cardinals doing letting Roy Lopez walk out that door? I'm not sure if you guys notice. Roy Lopez last night signed with the Detroit Lions for under $5 million. Roy Lopez was maybe the unsung hero. Like, if we were giving away MVPs for the defense, it would obviously be like Budda Baker or like Garrett Williams but if we were giving away the most surprising, impactful defensive player, and the Cardinals are in no position to lose those players, it was Roy Lopez. Oftentimes, the only player on that defensive line generating any pressure or batting balls down at the line of scrimmage was Roy Lopez. And they just let him walk out that door. It is hard for me to believe that this pass rush that was god-awful last year, that generated no pressure, is better without Roy Lopez on this roster. That is just, more than anything, that is just a big fat L for the Cardinals. I don't get that one iota. Makes zero sense. Roy Lopez was that guy that was batting down balls at the line of scrimmage, was an absolute leader in that locker room, and you didn't reward that guy who came in and earned his keep. He's a hometown kid too, and you just let him walk out the door. That is gross mismanagement by Monty Austinford. And yesterday, I defended Monty, and to the extent I will a little bit more today, because I do think something is coming. Because the only reason at this point that I think something is coming via trade, whether it's a big one in Micah or whether it's a somewhat big one in Trey Hendrickson, like whatever. Let's say that one of those things happens down the road. One of those things should already be happening. And the fact that they're doing nothing leads me to believe that that is the only thing right now that I think the Cardinals are doing, is working on that deal. But just like the Jacoby Brissett thing, that should have been on the back burner compared to getting Roy Lopez. Roy Lopez, if you're just talking about free agency re-signings, you definitely wanted to re-sign Budda Baker. You definitely wanted to re-sign James Conner. You definitely wanted to re-sign Trey McBride. And I actually talked about this with my guy Ivan in the chat. If you guys follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show, I will always respond to you. Always respectfully, too. I'll never go after you guys for having an opinion. That's totally fine. And then Trey McBride. And then Roy Lopez. Roy Lopez was the first of the second-tier free agents that I wanted. He was like a must re-sign. And Monty just let him walk out the door. There is literally no excuse for that. None. Even if you get Roy Lopez, if you would have given Roy Lopez the contract that you gave Baron Browning, which I was okay with, I would have absolutely done that too. I would have given Roy Lopez 2 years, $15 million, easy. Even if he underperformed next year, that's a contract you could let a guy walk out on and not feel the pain. You guys can tell how frustrated that one is so unnecessarily frustrating because it didn't need to happen. You didn't even need to have a negotiation. 1 year, $4.85 million for Roy Lopez to go to the Detroit Lions. Man, the Lions got an absolute dog. Just a dog, man. And the Cardinals didn't even need to be a negotiation. Hey, man, 2 years, $15 million. Does that sound good? 2 years, $15 million? Okay, cool. That's how it should have went down. And yeah, maybe that's a little bit of an overpay, but I don't care. You are not in a position to be letting go of defensive linemen. I mean, we're talking about a free agency now that everyone was ecstatic for. I feel like, once again, I was on the right side of this argument where I had said, I don't know if they're going to spend as much money as you think. Now, I was obviously wrong that they're just not going to spend any money is baffling to me. There is an argument to be made that you do have to save some of your money to re-sign your own players. Like Trey McBride, right? If you go and get, Aaron, you are going to trigger me in the chat. Lopez is all that. Roy Lopez is a great player for this team, and it's more so the price tag that he got is gone for. He's $4.85 million, and on a defensive line that is awful. I want him here. So you're gonna trigger me, man. I want him here so bad, but I do enjoy that you're here this morning. Where I lost my train of thought. Normally, comments don't usually get to me like that, but Roy Lopez was awesome here. Just continuously moving on. We were talking about a free agency that we thought the Arizona Cardinals were going to spend some money. And I was one of those people that had said, I don't think they're going to spend as much as you think because you need to re-sign your own players. Trey McBride, Michael Wilson coming up soon. You do have to save a large chunk of that money for your own players. And a lot of the times, I had people yesterday, including Ivan last night, talking to me on Twitter, and AZ Sports Fan, who's been asking me to come on his show, but, he streams during the day, so I haven't been able to go over there. But at some point, I'll get it done. He's a really good guy. It just gets frustrating because I get saving your money for your own players, but at some point, you got to spend a little bit, right? Even guys like me who are like, let's be chill just a little bit. Like, let's wait and see what happens. Maybe there's a trade coming down. We don't know what Monty is working on. And then I think what pissed a lot of people off was the Trey McBride non-re-signing yet. I think that's a non-starter for me because I believe Trey McBride is going to get a deal no matter what. I think he'll be the highest paid tight end no matter what. I'm 0% worried about it. And I got to be honest with you. When I saw other people talk about this, I thought it was a little unfair because those type of contracts don't come down till a little bit later. But I think the argument is now fair to say that the offseason was already a bust when they didn't re-sign Trey McBride. I didn't see anything to really give that much merit until now. With this offseason, they've done nothing. And no, I don't think it's a Michael Bidwell thing because it's not like Michael Bidwell makes more money because they save money. They save a little. He gets a little bit more money. I don't think he's that cheap. I think he's cheap, but I don't think he's that cheap that he wants to make a couple extra million. I think he'd rather his team be a little bit more decent, but maybe that's the case too. What I think is Monty might just be a really bad negotiator. And this is the third straight offseason now. First one, I give him a little bit of credit because he didn't have a quarterback. But third straight offseason now where he has not delivered. I'm not asking for the Cardinals to spend $50+ million. I told you guys, Milton Williams, yeah, it's way too much. $100 million for a guy who was a third-string defensive tackle on a team that was very good, but still, like, I get that. But look at the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, you would think have no money. They went and gave Josh Allen a massive, new, lucrative $55 million a year deal. And you know what happened after that? They were like, oh, man, we have all the excuses in the world not to go get other players. Joey Bosa, Larry Ogunjobi. They just go get guys. They're aggressive. The Commanders are aggressive. And the Cardinals, who are the third most cap space in the NFL, are sitting with their hands tucked in their lap. Now, listen, I agree. Or at least I said this yesterday. Maybe there is something in the woodworks. Maybe Trey Hendrickson's a Cardinal. Maybe Micah Parsons is a Cardinal. And you have to save your pennies for that. And if they do that, all is forgiven. But right now, we have no inclination that any of that is going to happen. And it's not just me who's confused. It's everyone that covers this team. And I don't blame anyone who thought this team was going to spend, and they're not, and we all have egg on our face. I didn't think they were going to spend as much as some other people thought, but I did think they were going to spend. Mike Garafolo said they were going to spend. Benjamin Albright said they were going to spend. It was everywhere. The people that I've talked to internally told me, yeah, they're going to go crazy in free agency. Just gaslighting fans. And it's frustrating because this defensive line is marginally better. I think Josh Sweat is a very good player. He's a solid, good pass rusher. He's not changing your pass rush alone. You have to add guys to that, which is why when Aaron comes at me in the chat and says Roy Lopez isn't all that. Like, Roy Lopez is all that. He's a guy that helps elevate your pass rush. Makes it to where they just don't have to focus in on Sweat. Or you go and get another piece like a Joey Bosa who, listen, if you're not going to get anyone else, I'm cool with Joey Bosa for a year, who I understand isn't an elite talent anymore. I wouldn't even say he's a Pro Bowl level talent, but he's better than what the Cardinals have. And he's injured often, so he doesn't fit the Cardinals mold. But what are we doing here? I mean, Larry Ogunjobi landed in Buffalo. The Cardinals could have used that guy. Like, it's not enough. It's not enough. And so the fact that we're just sitting here with our hands tucked in our pockets, it is incredibly frustrating. Roy Lopez yesterday triggered me beyond belief. I don't know. I don't know what Monty's doing. I don't get what Monty is doing right now. I don't think sitting there with your hands tucked in your pockets is the right move to do for this team at this moment. It just nauseating for me. Nauseating that I have to be able to yesterday defend Monty for his actions because I thought something was close. But instead, what I've noticed is Monty's prioritizing a backup quarterback, which, yes, I already sung the praises of. Jacoby Brissett is going to be a masterful backup with Kyler Murray. That is not the point. The point is that type of signing should have came 2 weeks from now. You shouldn't be focusing all your attention on the backup quarterback position right now during free agency, when there is other positions of value that you need to go after. I mean, it is embarrassing at this point. The last couple of years, I get defending Monty. I was there too. The first year, not signing anyone, you didn't have a quarterback. He's got issues. Not signing a you have a quarterback who's not on the team right now because of the torn ACL in his first season. Sorry, stuttered over my words there because I couldn't speak for a second. And so I get that. The first year, you're just tearing it down. You're ridding yourself of Steve Keim players. I never faulted him for letting Zach Allen leave. I did fault him for letting Byron Murphy leave because we knew he was going to translate to any system. And the next season, I understood being selective with your free agents, Mac Wilson and Bilal Nichols and Jonathan Jones, elevating the floor of this team. But in year 3, you need to act with some urgency. And what I believe the Cardinals have lacked today and yesterday and before that was urgency. And so you ask me right now there's no draft right now, so we don't know. But if you ask me right now, how much better are the Cardinals this year than they were last year, 2 days into free agency? I'd tell you probably the same. I'd say they're probably still 8-9. So frustrating. As I'm looking at some of the stuff in the chat, if Roy Lopez leaving you triggers in you, then you haven't been a Cardinals fan long enough. This happens all the time. Aaron, I've been a Cardinals fan my entire life. That's all I'll say to that. I will always get frustrated when good players walk out that door. I can't think of any off the top of my head that have walked out that door that, like, I remember the 2016 season, 2015 season, Tony Jefferson and Calais Campbell left. I was actually good buddies with Tony Jefferson. He's a really good dude. Calais Campbell left. They didn't have any cap space that year, so like I'm okay with that. But the problem with Roy Lopez leaving is you have all this money. There's no reason, especially for a guy that got no money. He got $5 million a year. And you just let that guy walk out that door. So I don't know if I'd go with the fact that I haven't been a Cardinals fan long enough, because unfortunately I have been. I'm an all-Arizona fan. Not many of us left here. But that's the kind of stuff that losing teams do. And general managers who do things poorly do. And Monty Ossenfort is starting, his seat is really starting to warm. But the fact that he's not out there making moves is crazy to me. It is just nauseating. Because you see what the Patriots are doing. You can argue the Cardinals are closer than the Patriots, and they're going out and spending all their money. They spent $250 million, it feels like, at this point. Very frustrating for the Arizona Cardinals to be dealing with this. I appreciate you guys. If you guys, just really quickly before I change subjects, if you guys are in the chat, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you guys got questions, I will try to answer those as well. We are here every morning, 6 a.m., 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys, before I end the show, I did want to talk about this really quickly. Bobby Hurley for Arizona State basketball is not something I thought I'd be talking about this year, but I am an Arizona sports show, so let me dedicate 3 to 4 minutes to it. Like, is that fair? Just like with the Diamondbacks. I'm not going to talk a lot of Diamondbacks on the show. I'm a big Diamondbacks fan, but I'll dedicate 4 to 5 minutes to it every week because there's just not a lot of urgency in baseball. Now, of course, when the playoffs come around, I'll talk it every day. But there's just not a lot of urgency. Same with Arizona State basketball. There's not a lot of urgency, but I do talk Arizona State football. I do that as well. But there's just not a lot of urgency, right? Let's talk about Bobby Hurley really quickly. And I understand if there are some people that check out now, but give me 4 minutes on this. Bobby Hurley is reportedly staying and being the Arizona State basketball head coach next season. And it was very frustrating when Gambo tweeted breaking news incoming, and it was just the Bobby Hurley stuff when everyone thought it was going to be Cardinals stuff. But that's a guy doing his job. Bobby Hurley has been under a lot of fire over the last couple of seasons for largely disappointing in tournaments or disappointing as the Arizona State University head coach. But I got to be honest with you. It's the same argument with Kyler Murray and the same argument with trading Devin Booker. You want to fire Bobby Hurley, but then what? You're not in a position, if you're ASU, to go get one of the young, up-and-coming college basketball hires. You're not getting Dan Hurley. You're not even getting what U of A got in the Gonzaga assistant coach. What are you doing if you're Arizona State? So I get being frustrated that Bobby Hurley's still the head coach here for the Arizona State Sun Devils, but I kind of don't think you could do much better. Bobby Hurley's a fairly esteemed head coach in college basketball. Like, is he great? No. Is he terrible? No. But you have to ask yourself, if you're Arizona State, if you want to just move on for the sake of moving on, I totally get that. But if you want to move on with the intent of hiring someone better, that's fine, but who is it? I just can't buy the Bobby Hurley hype that he's going to leave and you're going to magically get someone better. Because for the most part, he has kept ASU fairly relevant. And I can count on my hand the amount of signature wins he has. Is he consistent? No. But he also hasn't had the support of NIL like he just gotten for the first time this year. Like, I would like to see it out with Bobby Hurley. I don't think obviously Dan Hurley's an incredible head coach, but Bobby Hurley, there's no way he's just awful like he has been this year. I would like to see him with a new NIL and support behind him and the new identity of Arizona State University basketball. And if he's still mediocre, then move on from him. But the reason why I'm not in a rush to fire Bobby Hurley and why the news that he's staying here doesn't move me either way is I just don't know what you could do better. Now, Arizona State University got lucky. They lucked out on Kenny Dillingham, and he's from here. And we're not so sure he's ever going to leave here because he's from here and because he loves it so much. But Arizona State basketball, I don't know who you would go after. There's no clear-cut guy. And who would want this job? A real up-and-coming head coach. Who would want this job? So I get wanting to run Bobby Hurley out the door, and to some extent so do I, because Arizona State basketball has been largely irrelevant over the last couple of seasons, but I just don't know what the improvement is. So I understand running it back with Bobby and starting a new system and doing whatever you can then and seeing if NIL really helps out. But outside of that, just wanting to fire Bobby Hurley just to fire Bobby Hurley because you're frustrated how the Arizona State season has went, 95% of head coaches, if they had this job, it would go the same way. So that's how I feel about the Bobby Hurley situation. Some people were up in arms about him staying. It just doesn't move me either way. They could have fired him. They could have kept him. Either way, it would have been the same thing to me. So with that being said, Bobby Hurley back at Arizona State University. We'll run it back next year. We'll see how it goes. But the guy, at the end of the day, does need to win games and also control his temper. All right, guys, I appreciate you guys giving me a few minutes on that. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. I will see you guys tomorrow. Final show of the week tomorrow. But also remember, if there's breaking news, I'll get on here as soon as I can. Also, tomorrow, Thursday, for Locked On Phoenix Suns, for those of you who have watched me on Locked On Phoenix Suns, that like Locked On Phoenix Suns, huge guest tomorrow joining me on Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'll keep that in the back pocket, but you guys will be excited to see that person come on with me. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. Follow me on all social media platforms. It's been the Ben Garcia Show, and until tomorrow, I'll see you then at 6 a.m. local time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. I'm Benjamin Garcia, and until then, it's been the Ben Garcia Show.